Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. It's a sad Monday. Washington lost a nail-biter to familiar foe in Kirk Cousins, 20-17. Washington goes 4-5 after having a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. So we got to talk about this game, everybody. And so we decided to bring back our boy, Mr. Nick Akridge from Pro Football Focus. Thank you for joining us, Nick. How are you doing on this Monday, guys? Sir?
Fantastic. Well, as fantastic as you can be after a loss. But, I came back from a wedding this weekend. I didn't get to see Tennessee lose. So that was cool. I'm just going to pretend like it never happened. We keep moving.
It's almost like you're a wide receiver for Tennessee. You just don't exist at that point, right?
All right, I'm going to go, guys. See you guys later.
Okay. So that was the one thing, Reed, you weren't supposed to talk about is Tennessee for Nick.
I'm sorry.
Nick, you guys have put out your ratings for yesterday's game. And look, there isn't that many bright spots after a loss. I mean, obviously it's very negative on social media and everything, but one of the bright spots being that Montez Sweat was the highest rated from you guys from Pro Football Focus with an 83-point grade. But the thing is, he had 1 tackle and 3 quarterback hits. So kind of talk to us about that rating and how it got derived. How good of a game did Montez Sweat have?
Yeah, it was good. They're really using his athleticism to his advantage now. We charted him with 6 total pressures, and I think 4 or 5 of those came on stunts. Either he was the guy looping or he was the guy, slanting in the gap first. And he looked incredible just doing that. Like his length and his speed was just really good. And so like a lot of people were seeing Darrisaw played really well, which he did, but they were using Sweat and he wasn't just attacking Darrisaw. He was attacking the A gap and the loop, attacking B gap. And there's one play that you may have seen and probably eventually we'll get to where he was slanting into the B gap from his left side and just blows up the right guard and center and then gets a hit on Kirk Cousins. Beautiful stuff. He's literally done better than what I thought he could be. I was a little down on Montez Sweat and he's proved me wrong.
Yeah. I remember the play you're talking about. I remember we were at the game. I remember turning to Kyle and just being like half a step. He missed him by half a step getting that sack. So
they were like that all day on Kirk Cousins. Dude. They were lighting him up.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised he was able to wear all those chains on the plane afterwards. His body got beat up. But sticking with the PFF grades, it seemed that Curtis Samuel had a good day as far as your grades. Is that just because he scored the touchdown? And finally, it seems like they used him kind of in that downfield, kind of like the deep passing game as well. But just talk about how you got to the grade on Curtis Samuel.
That ref deserves a raise.
No bull.
Mm-hmm. That touchdown obviously helps. I mean, he saved him and the ref saved Heineke like crazy there. Did you guys
give him extra points for having his eyes closed?
No, that was a turnover worthy play for Heineke, and it was a great play for Samuel. But no, they also used him in the run game, and he had some impressive runs there too. So I love seeing him in the backfield going deep, doing it. This is what they brought him for last year, and it's good to see him. And he's just been really, really solid this year.
He had 3 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets. I mean, have you ever seen a play like that? Like Hull and I were talking, we were like, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, it's a Hail Mary. Like you see that situation in a Hail Mary, but it was like the third quarter, second quarter, whatever. And it was just, I don't know what, like I know what he saw. You could see, I think they were playing quarters on that side, and Samuel had a step on that safety, but Heineke was already scrambling left. Like he did not have his feet set. He had his body facing the wrong way. And he said, screw it, I'm just chucking this thing. And he put every single ounce of strength he had into it, came up about 5 yards short. The back judge got in the way. And I don't know.
That's genius right there. That's Taylor. He drew that up the way in the parking lot. That's exactly.
I think that was the final end of the Heineke magic, which we saw. I think it was that play right there took all of the magic out, and it's just gone now.
The crazy thing was, is I had said to Hall right before that play, I was like, we have not tried deep yet all game. can we please hit them deep? And then literally throws into triple coverage. I was like, no, not now.
Yeah, that was interesting is he had 48 passing yards in the first half, and that very pass went for 49. So right there, he got more than 100% of his yards, But we already talked about Montez Sweat, but somebody else who stood out to you on the defensive line was Jonathan Allen. Tell us about his game a little bit.
Yeah, pass rushing, incredible. Was given the right guard, left guard, absolute fits. 5 total pressures, 3 hits. His pass rush grade was 91.0. His run defense grade is what brought him down a little bit, but he was just dominant. Some really quick wins. He almost killed Kirk Cousins multiple times. Again, I'm surprised Kirk was able to just stand up after that. But yeah, no, he's a monster. I think he's one of the best interior pass rushers in the entire NFL, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. I think our grades don't do him as much justice as they should. That's just me being biased, but no, I think he's incredible.
Was he the one who hit Kirk when Kirk had to come out of the game for the snap or two?
Did you hear what Kirk said about that? He said
No.
It took him so long to get up. Well, at first he got the wind knocked out of him, and he thought they scored. So that's why it took him forever to get up.
Sure, that's what it was. Yeah. It wasn't that big old Jonathan Allen sack hammering.
It wasn't
down
the
on
almost 300-pound man just laying on top of it.
No, I will say that I earned a lot of respect for Kirk Cousins because, I had said that he was going to make a mistake if you keep the game close. That never happened, and he continued to make elite throw after elite throw and stood in there, was getting hit all day long. I thought it was going to happen at some point, but it never did, of course. Nick, my next question for you, Jamin Davis, the last of the 4 top rated from you guys yesterday's game, obviously has been making strides, was playing next to John Bostic. We kind of talked about him earlier. But talk to us about Jamin Davis. What are you seeing him in contrast to last year?
Yeah, he's more decisive. Like, he's out of his own head, and he just, like, he might be wrong on what he does, but he's doing it at full speed, if that makes sense. Like, if he's in the wrong gap, he's going full speed into that gap. And sometimes that bites him in the butt, but it's 10 times better than where he was last year, and just, second guessing everything, hesitant to react to his reads and his keys and stuff. And they're using him. They're pass rushing him a lot more. 84.7 pass rush grade, 4 pressures on 7 total pass rush snaps.
Wow, that's
pretty efficient.
Yeah.
They were using him in loops. I mean, they were just blitzes with him matched up against a running back was no match. It's good to finally see his athleticism being used to his advantage and just kind of trusting what he sees. And sometimes he's wrong, but I can live with that instead of him just kind of constantly second guessing and just waiting for things to come hit him.
Yeah, they say if you're going to make a mistake, at least make the mistake full speed. So
Yeah.
I definitely hear you on that. I wish they had PFF grades for coaches and offensive coordinators, but they don't. But what was your grade for Scott Turner? Because I know, me included, a lot of the fan base is kind of just scratching their heads on some of those calls, just not even yesterday, but throughout the whole season as well. But what was your grade? What would you give a grade for Scott Turner from yesterday?
A flea flicker on the 35.
I think I'd go C. I've always been more positive on Turner than other people have. I think it's very easy, and I literally just posted some tweets about it. It's very easy to just judge him based on the results. Like that, the 3rd and 9 draw for Heineke looks horrible. It looks like an absolute terrible call, but it's an RPO
Said
draw.
the same thing. I was like, what?
It's an RPO draw, and they had Gibson running a little orbit motion
That's
around
what I
him.
was saying.
You had 4 defenders over 3 blockers with Antonio Gibson basically just needing to beat Eric Kendricks to a corner. And it was probably a first down, or at the worst case scenario, 4th and 2, 4th and 1.
Right.
And that's what I think they were trying to set up, because they were going to realize they were going for it there because you're in no man's land. But so those sort of plays everyone's going to bash Scott Turner for, but I think that's a great play. I think the problem with the 4th down decision, the bootleg, I'm a huge fan of going hurry up and sneaking it. You rarely ever see that fail. And if it fails, you tip your cap, you move on. They were stronger on that one play. But calling a timeout, wasting all that time, and then setting up a bootleg, if it works, yeah, you look great. Heineke made a good pass. They just made a better play. So, I mean, it's tough. He's not working with much. I mean, I love Taylor Heineke. He's an absolute ball of energy. He's fun to watch when the magic is working. But there are some serious limitations to his game. And that reflects on Turner basically, because, you can't see the full offense, kind of explode. And to Wentz's credit, he was actually sometimes hitting those and trying to hit those at times. But I don't know. It's tough to judge him, and it sucks because this is year 3, year 4 now, and he's really never had a quarterback to work with. So I've always been a little more generous of some of his calls, because as an offensive coordinator, you have to look at the process, not the result, as hard as that is.
Yeah. Real fast, Kyle.
Fair assessment.
Yeah, my internet cut out. Who did you ask about? I just want to make sure that I'm not asking about the same person.
I asked about Jamin.
Okay, yeah, good. So anyway, another person though who really tore it up, I think, showed out in the coaching staff. They clearly have a lot invested in this guy. I think that they're really high on him, and that's Benjamin St-Juste. I know the first drive was obviously it was difficult with Justin Jefferson, but he was tasked with following him around the whole game.
And he got a sack.
Yeah, exactly. Right after that pick six too.
Yeah,
he made some fantastic plays. What did you see from him? How did he grade out?
Yeah, grade wise, it's not going to do him justice, just because he's going up against Justin Jefferson. He had a 57.4. If you put that into perspective, that's pretty damn good against one of, you can argue, the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Right.
So I think that's pretty good. I like what I see. He can use his length. He gets a little grabby. People are pissed at the pick six that was called back, but I think it was the right call.
It was.
Jefferson was pushing off a little bit, but you can't grab that inside of the shoulder pad.
As soon as I saw that inner shoulder pad, that was like, okay, I didn't see that during the game live.
Yeah. The one angle that kind of shows from just St-Juste's angle, it looks like it's a bad call, but if you flip it around, you saw the shoulder pad getting pulled. But I think he was really good considering. I mean, there were some moments in zone coverage where he kind of, forgot his assignment and stuff, but that's mostly because it was kind of a difficult sort of design, I guess. But they used him, and they had a really cool play design where cover two, but instead of using the corners as flats, they blitzed both of them and just kind of peeled off with the safety. It was really cool. That worked out a couple times. So I love what they're doing with him. I think we might have found a pretty decent corner.
Yeah.
He's got all the tools for it. So, and I think he showed it against Justin Jefferson, not really ever backing down. So that was really good to see.
Yeah. The interesting thing about him is usually when you think of these bigger cornerbacks that aren't maybe as agile as some of these other guys. I mean, granted, Sauce Gardner's a unicorn, but you don't think about him really going up and matching up well with these sharp route runners like Justin Jefferson, but he did. He was right there with him, I think, all the time in man coverage, it looked like.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, I've always said, he has the wingspan of a basketball player. So when you can get hands on people, it helps you at the line of scrimmage, and it helps you against guys like Justin Jefferson. Sometimes he gets grabby, which we saw, but I'd rather have that than him, just getting absolutely toasted and not touching a guy. So I like it.
I'd let him get grabby with me.
Jesus Christ. All right, that's the second time. I got to go now, guys.
I'm saying, I would just take the penalty. I would just let them do it.
Oh, yeah, right. My bad.
Get their mind out.
Now,
that's on me.
Now, Nick, to wrap this up, I only have a couple more questions for you, but it seemed like, I just wanted to say before we get going, it seemed like at the end of that first quarter, there was one play where Jamin is like in zone, and they put Justin Jefferson in the slot, and Justin Jefferson catches a real quick, I think an in route or something like that, gets the first down, and then after that they were like, okay, put Benjamin on him, and let's see how it goes. Because going into this game, none of us, let's be realistic, thought that Benjamin St-Juste could hang with Justin Jefferson like that one-on-one for an entire game. Nobody even thought that was a possibility of what they were going to be doing. I think it's a big confidence builder for Benjamin St-Juste, but let me stop hearing myself talk. My next question for you,
please.
The O-line play. Obviously, they gave up 3 sacks on the day. Kind of talk to me about that. Zadarius Smith has 8.5 going into this game, sacks on the season. How did you think they did overall?
Not great. Again, it was rough for Lucas on the right side.
It was.
Leno was decent pass blocking. It's one of his worst pass blocking days, but it's still pretty good, 73.6 pass blocking grade. But, yeah, it was rough for Cornelius Lucas. I think we really need to see Sam Cosmi back there. The interior 3, again, it's just – I mean, Norwell was better. Trey Turner was better, but, the center position is tough when you have 5th, 6th guys coming in. But, yeah, it was really mostly on Cornelius Lucas. It was not a great showing, and he was decent these past couple of weeks. So hopefully it's just kind of a one-time thing. Yeah,
it looked like he lost a step on a couple of those sacks. Like for some reason he just did not have the power to jump off of it with them, or they were just faster than him straight up. It is what it is.
Yep.
My next question for you. That being said, with the offensive line, knowing that, I know you like Scott Turner, but don't you think the play calling and play structure goes into that, with being able to have the chip blocks, having the rollouts, making it easier for the O-line in those situations? Because at that point, it was kind of dire.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of my biggest criticisms of him, especially in the first half, is we don't really play to Heineke's strengths as much. And I just talked about it. He has some serious limitations, arm strength. He thinks he's Superman at times. Sometimes he is. But he has those limitations, but you can play to his strengths. That zone read where he spun and absolutely destroyed Eric Kendricks, one of the best linebackers in the NFL. You got to do that more often. You need to get him on the run. You need to do these sort of things. Makes it easier on him, makes it easier on the offensive line. Not like the Bears are doing with Justin Fields now, but similar to that sort of play style where you just make it simpler for him. And that's kind of one of my bigger criticisms. I think in the first half, they stick so much to their game plan. And if it's not working, you're just beating your head against the wall constantly. And it's why we get like 10 total yards in the first half these past couple of games. So I think, like I said, that's the biggest criticism I have. I think you need to play to his strengths a little bit more and just get your playmakers involved in quick, easy touches, because that is always a good thing to do.
I agree with you. And then Nick, so after every game, we give out game beers and we give out chores. So game beers during wins, chores for losses. So if you can only pick one entity that deserves chores to go work around the house because they shouldn't kick their feet if they don't get time to relax, they got to do better next week. Who's getting your chore? One entity.
Also, keep in mind, you have to say this to the player's face too when you see them. You have to be like, "Look, I picked you. You got to do some fucking housework, dude."
Okay, then I'll say I'll go Tressway then, because I think that's the only guy I can fight. No, I think it's Heineke. I just, again, we saw the good and bad, but again, the good was a lot of luck, and he's been riding that luck streak, and it's been working for him, and it finally was not working for him anymore. So I think he just needs to get back to just playing smart. He got a little ahead of himself with the triple team Hail Mary in the third quarter and the overthrow to Logan Thomas. He just got to get back to playing smart football. And he knows that. You saw him beating his helmet after he missed some throws and stuff. So yeah, I think it's always a quarterback. It's always a quarterback.
He did have a bad game. I even noticed that he was late to his checkdowns, not like he normally is on time. It was a very weird day. I just don't get it, but it's the NFL. Things happen. Nick, I can't thank you enough, brother, for coming around and joining us. Obviously, you being with Pro Football Focus, you don't have you're so busy watching all this film, so I can't thank you enough for being able to come on here and bless us with your intellect, sir. If you just like to plug your social media handle, just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet and would like to.
Yeah, it's Twitter, PFF _ Nick Akridge. I'm about to get into an argument about that 3rd and 9 RPO draw here if you want to tune into that. So
hell yeah,
that's where I'm at.
Who's it with?
I don't know yet, but I have 12 notifications on that one tweet, so we'll see who it is.
There we go. Give him hell, Nick. All right, everybody. Thanks. Appreciate you, brother. Have a good one.
See you guys.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Nick Akridge. Pro Football Focus.
Nick always getting into little Twitter beefs right when he was coming on here last time.
He told us that this season he was not holding any grudge anymore. He was just going to do it. Now,
he said he was looking for the smoke.
Hall and I were at the game yesterday, thanks to the Hog Farmers. Obviously, we were there. They gave us a ticket, so really appreciate them for giving us that opportunity. We were able to take out our coworker and my good friend Donnie. So it was an absolute awesome time. We went out and saw the Black Hawk helicopter in the parking lot before the game. We got to talk to the pilot. It was cool. And the game itself was really awesome. I will say it was unfortunate the way it ended. But let's kind of talk about this game and our chores here a little bit, boys. And also respect and congratulations to Chris Bryant, who won Fan of the Year. So he's going to represent the Commanders at the Super Bowl, which is absolutely awesome. You deserve it, dude. Yeah. Congratulations. Let's give out chores, fellas. They lost 20-17. It was a nail biter. It went how I thought it would, essentially. I thought 24 points was going to be the cap for Washington to hit in order to get the W. I wish that was the case. But let's start with you, Reed. Unfortunately, you were not there, so you watched on the tube. Who's getting your chore?
This is tough because I'm a big supporter of the guy, and I do think that this guy really had us up ready to go. But I got to give it to the coaching staff and Ron Rivera, man. It was just the clock management towards the end of the game. It was very frustrating, and ultimately, I mean, there's multiple reasons why we lost that game. I mean, the Taylor Heineke pick, as we know, and the offense not really getting going. But towards the end of the game, you really had a chance. You really did, and the coaching staff just kind of blew it. Ron Rivera with his time management, which I know has always been a kind of a weak point, and it really showed its head this past Sunday. And we really had a chance to beat a 7-1 team. Could have been huge, but we blew it. We goofed it.
That's a good one. You're going with Ron Rivera. Look at the balls on you. I don't think there's a lot of people that disagree, to be perfectly honest. But it has to be Taylor. I mean, going 15 of 28, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. The one touchdown to Curtis Samuel is absolutely insane. like I told you guys earlier, I just said that to Hall. We're not testing him deep at all. And the one time he does that. And that was the craziest play I have ever seen in my freaking life.
Dude,
Just
what
the fact that it was even a touchdown, that
the
nobody
fact
touched him.
Curtis Samuel's eyes were closed too when he
Right.
was catching that ball. Like it's just nothing should have worked about that, and it did. It was
Right.
crazy.
Absolutely insane, dude. But it has to be Taylor because he was off all day. And it didn't seem like himself. And even that out route to Logan that's open, that Taylor could throw that in his sleep. That's like a normal throw to him going to Logan Thomas and threw him out wide. So if anyone deserves chores, it's Taylor. Get back into the film room, young man. Go and try to make the most of this because the Carson Wentz chatter is already starting. I mean, even the Sam Howell chatter is already starting.
I know.
But who's getting your chore for this?
Yeah, I got to go with. We already talked about him a little bit ago, but Cornelius Lucas. I just feel like it was just one of them days where he just every time he looked up, it seemed like he was getting beat by the person in front of him. He was missing the block that he was supposed to pick up. Taylor Heineke was in the pocket, ducking and dodging. It seemed like always coming from the right side, the pressure. So, yeah, hopefully Sam Cosmi is good to go against Philly next week because got Brandon Graham and those boys coming off the edge up there. And, yeah, can't let that the line play bad against Philly. So, Cornelius Lucas, yeah, there's a couple of leagues need to be raked up out there, brother.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because like we thought that it would be a good move after Sam got out because Sam was giving up some pressures as well. But like I don't want to blame Cornelius Lucas too much because at some point like you got to be able to give me some help here. You know what I'm saying? And it did seem like there was something going on there. But regardless, that's our chores for the week. So let's move on to our fan questions before we are joined by our next guest and Matthew Paris joining
We're
us.
not giving
here.
no game beers.
I mean, if you want to,
Even doing a loss, I'm just gonna
there's
give
a lot
one.
of people who deserve it.
That's to. I mean, you could give it to the defense as a whole, but I'm going to give it to Benjamin St-Juste. Just so we already talked about what he did, just following the best wide receiver in the NFL. Made some fantastic plays. I know that pick six is iffy. The refs got it right, unfortunately, but Benjamin St-Juste, man, he impressed the hell out of me, and the coaching staff had confidence in him.
Absolutely, and he played really, really well. I mean, the stat line won't tell you guys that.
Especially because of that first drive.
Right, and the first pass to Justin Jefferson, he jams Justin Jefferson line of scrimmage, actually knocks him off balance, is in his back pocket. But Kirk and Justin Jefferson, for some reason, are linked up like they were twins at birth. And they were just perfectly timed that ball. But then the other fact is that, yeah, Benjamin St-Juste had that pick six that was called back. We can argue left and right if it was legit or not. Fact is, the one interception before halftime, that was because of Benjamin St-Juste and the way he played Justin Jefferson. Jumped that ball up. Yeah, he didn't get his head turned around, but he played it perfectly, dude. Stood in front of him, jumped up when he read Justin Jefferson jumping. He jumped up and knocked up for my boy Danny Johnson, who got some playing time yesterday, which I'm really happy about. But I agree with you there. Benjamin does deserve it.
Was it on me?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, because my earphones cut out for a while. Who'd you say first? You already go, Kyle?
No, I didn't. I actually lied.
Right.
It's Kim Curl. Led the team in tackles with 11. 2 tackles for loss. Had the green dot yesterday. There was some things that happened here and there, but look, nobody's perfect. But Cam Curl, again, being the leader for this defense, calling the defense, holding the Minnesota Vikings to 20 points. When I interviewed with AWOD last week on the radio, he was saying 30 points that this offense needs to put up to beat Minnesota. I was look, I respect our defense a little bit more than that. And look, they stopped them to 20. So that kind of shows you what people thought about this Minnesota offense and the fact that Cam's calling the defense, getting these guys in position. I think he's done a great job. He deserves a game beer.
That touchdown to Dalvin Cook, that was just a dime from Kirk. That was beautiful. That was right over. It's had nothing you can do about the perfect pass.
Hey, he was dropping dimes the whole day, honestly.
Yeah. Dude, he really was. How many times did we talk about that?
Yeah,
they were in his face too, and he was just on it, dude.
Hey,
where was this when he was with Washington?
I know.
Come on, bro.
It's because it's Washington.
I know.
So, yeah, I'm going to stick with the secondary theme, and I'm going to go with Danny Johnson. I think that he had a pretty good day playing the receivers out the slot. Obviously, he gets the pick at the end of the half to kind of get him out the end zone, hold him to 0 points, I should say. And, yeah, I just think that as someone that was, I guess, talked about as like one of the weaker links when he came in as a slot guy in the beginning of the year, then they go out and get Wild Goose, and it seems like Wild Goose is starting to take some of his snaps away. Then they elevate him up during this game week as well, and then he comes out, plays a pretty good game, like I said before. So I think Danny Johnson had a nice redemption game yesterday, and he deserves a game beer.
Yeah, you can give it to the defense as a whole, to be honest. We could pick anybody from the defense. They all played fantastic. They're the reason we were even in that game.
Yeah,
so.
I will say somebody that does he deserves a game beer for this is Jack Del Rio.
Yes,
For the
100%.
simple reason of adjusting Benjamin St-Juste at the end of that first quarter to being on Justin Jefferson full time, because Justin Jefferson caught a pass on Kendall Fuller early on, and then he caught another pass where they were in zone where Jamin was at linebacker. After that, he was like, "Nope, let's switch it."
Yeah.
And you could say what you want, but if you take two of those passes away, that he doesn't have 100 yards anymore, and you're kind of looking at Benjamin St-Juste a little bit differently there. The fact that he did adjust and made that decision and stuck with the young guy, I think a lot of credit to Jack Del Rio. That was the right move.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, now let's go to our fan questions. This one is from my guy, Commander Viscount, on Twitter. Is it time to move on from Logan Thomas? Always seems to be injured at the moment, and given our young tight end room, Armani Rogers seems to be the best one at the moment, Reed.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this. I mean, maybe coming up soon, but I think he offers so much in the locker room, especially with these young guys right now. And the flip side of that, I mean, it's not like Cole Turner's been healthy. Cole Turner's been in and out of the lineup as well. But I really agree with you about Rodgers. I like him a lot. I still like John Bates, especially as a number 2 tight end. I think Bates is perfect, and I just really want to see what Cole Turner can do before I'm comfortable with moving on from Logan Thomas, because he's got to stay on the field. His skill set's so unique, but as of right now, I mean, Logan Thomas is still the leader in that locker room amongst the tight ends, and he's still good. It's just I completely understand what you're saying, man, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, but the unfortunate part about Logan Thomas is that he's like he's at his best in the red zone when he can.
You said, what kind of car do I drive?
When he could use his height to his advantage and be the jump ball king, but he hasn't gotten those opportunities. Obviously, we haven't been in the red zone very much. That being said, I'm not sure if it's ready to move on, because I understand what you're saying, because Logan has been injured so far this season, was injured last season, and he doesn't look like the normal Logan from 2 seasons ago, and I understand that, and I get that. The only thing I'll say is
there in age.
His skill set, being the red zone guy, is actually good for his long term, because it's not going to be expected of him to be the agility guy like Armani Rogers, so to speak. So somebody like Logan Thomas is somebody you want to have on your roster as a backup, because in those situations, you're getting a vet who's used to it and could come in and help you in the red zone. I don't think they're going to. I know what you're saying with the young tight ends. Maybe they cross that bridge. But I think that Logan offers the off-the-field leadership ability that not many people do.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I hear what you're saying. It's frustrating, but you got to also think that he was coming back from an ACL injury from last season, so you don't really get to work out in the offseason. You got to worry about rehabbing your knee and trying to get back onto the field.
Plus those knee braces, man.
They always say that.
So clunky.
Yeah, right. They always say with ACL injuries, that first year you come back, it's kind of like you're not fully yourself, and then that second year is when you're really back to 100% and like feeling like yourself again. So I know it's frustrating, and I definitely hear what you're saying with the young guys. I love Rodgers. I love what he brings as far as like his athletic ability and stuff like that. Definitely, I feel like there's a lot of upside with him. But like you said, Logan's a leader not only in the locker room, but like with the tight ends, but on the team as a whole. And I just feel like just give him one more year, come back next year, and then see how he's doing, and see what he looks like. Because like I said, he'll have this offseason to finally get fully healthy, work out, and hopefully get back to somewhat of the 2020 Logan Thomas. And like I said, that'll be 2 years away from the ACL. So hopefully he gets back to what he used to be. And if not, like I said, you got to look to a guy like Cole Turner, Armani Rogers, or maybe even draft a guy later on down the road. But I'm still willing to give Logan, because I've just grown to love him so much, because I mean, I hated on him in the beginning. I'm not going to lie, but Kyle convinced me. So yeah, I just don't want to see him go as of yet. I want to see what he still has to produce.
That was a 4th down when Rodgers had that end around, right?
I think it was like
Rodgers
3rd
with that
one.
run. Pretty sure that was 4th and 1. That
Either
was
3rd
nice.
or 4th and 1.
Athletic as hell.
And he was close to getting pulled down there. But now we are joined by our next guest, Mr. Matthew Paris of the Washington Times, who was at the game yesterday. How are you doing, sir? How is this beautiful Monday for you?
Oh, it's doing well. Weather's great. Have my door open as I'm writing and enjoying the nice breeze.
Yes, sir. And so I want to pick your brain a little bit talking about the penalties from yesterday. Obviously, Rivera had his press conference. Kind of enlighten us. What was Rivera's explanation for those penalties? Obviously, Ridgeway's penalty is inevitably what cost him the game. You could say in a micro scale. What was his explanation?
I mean, his explanation was that it was not a penalty in his view. you would expect a coach to say that, but you kind of see his viewpoint if you watch it. Basically they teach the player there, John Ridgway, like to come over and kind of impede the long snapper's gap. Well, when you do that, you're not allowed to make contact with the player's head or neck area. And there's just kind of a disagreement of whether or not he actually made contact there.
Okay.
Now, looking at it, I see the argument for why the penalty was called. I think Ridgway did make contact to the head and neck area. Uh, it wasn't severe, but it was something they were clearly on the lookout for. So it's a tough spot. It did cost them the game, but at the same time, can you really, gripe about the officials when, Washington's biggest
Right.
player of the day was a break
Because of
from
the
the
official.
official that fell down.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything like that? And
Ah.
just like not even in person, just ever.
It's crazy because it was drew up like that too. Like that was on purpose. So
Right. Not for a touchdown. I've seen a player impede a ref before, like, make contact, but I don't remember it ever like changing a course of a play like it did there.
I was 100% sure that ball was going to be picked. When I saw it, and I saw those 3 jerseys, 4, because the ref was on the ground. I was like, and great, good job, Taylor. And somehow he rolled in untouched, and I was like, okay,
I'm
maybe.
sure Curtis Samuel probably thought it was going to be picked too when he saw it coming
That's why he
towards
was
him.
closing his eyes.
That's why he's closing his eyes. Yeah.
The safety on the play, he told Stephen Wino of the Associated Press that he was playing it like a punt.
Oh no.
That's a fair catch it, and then the ref.
I was about to say, what if he did?
Like that guy deserves a raise. Now, my next question for you, Paris, that I have. Obviously, Taylor's game yesterday wasn't the best. So, what do you think this does with the discussion with Carson Wentz possibly coming back? When do you think that will come around? And do you think that Carson Wentz should be able to get that opportunity, or should it be Sam Howell?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big week for Taylor Heineke ahead. I mean, Carson Wentz is eligible to come back, starting with the Houston game, right?
Yep.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Got to recheck my math, check the time.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So he can't come back then, and it puts a lot of pressure on Heineke to kind of go out there and make a convincing argument. Now, I was kind of looking into this today. The stats are a little bit better for Taylor Heineke. Interesting enough, it's 2 more points per game. It's maybe 9 yards more of offense. It's not a dramatic difference where I think you could justify going back to Wentz. And personally, I would go back to Wentz because you have to consider the investment there. Washington gave up all this equity in the offseason to see what they wanted, to see what Wentz could be in this offense. And we all saw that it was kind of rough to begin the season, but Rivera was kind of banking on that continuity for Wentz to find a rhythm. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's tempted to go back to that. But at the same time, if you're making an argument for Heineke, it just feels like the offense is a little bit more explosive. The mobility, I think, is a big deal, and it really helps what Washington can achieve. But I would see the argument for Wentz, and that's probably the way I would lean. Sam Howell, I don't think he's ready personally.
I thought you were going to go Reed.
Oh,
No, I'll go. I got one.
Okay.
So yesterday it seemed like they had Benjamin St-Juste traveling with Justin Jefferson outside of that first quarter, outside of that first drive. It seemed like that was what the game plan stuck to with him. And then outside of a couple plays here and there from some great throws by Kirk Cousins, I think he did pretty well on Justin Jefferson. I want to get your opinion on him. And do you see him at the trajectory he's going through now, kind of being that number 1 corner for this team in the future?
Yeah, we'll have to see in terms of a number 1. Like, you kind of think about how Bashaud Breeland performed before bringing in Josh Norman. It seemed like he was going to be a number 1. They still brought in Norman. Breeland was the number 2. But if you have a very high number 2, that's a good thing to have. It doesn't necessarily matter if Benjamin St-Juste transforms to this number 1 type of corner. It's important in the meantime that he's just a physical, stout cornerback, and that's what he is. I think he really uses his height and his body really well when defending guys. You see the positioning. I mean, we all saw it on that pass break up there that led to Danny Johnson's interception in the end zone with Justin Jefferson. And it's impressive the way he's able to kind of use things back and forth. And, I didn't even think he was that bad in nickel either. I mean, he's just an instinctual player, and I think he's better suited for the outside. But I think you're really starting to see that growth from him, and that's an encouraging thing to see for Washington.
Yeah. Now, we touched on the penalties a little bit earlier, especially the one with Ridgeway. Paul just asked about Benjamin St-Juste. So what a perfect little segue. Benjamin St-Juste had a pick 6 called back yesterday that seemed to be kind of controversial. Ron Rivera touched on it, said he was going to send it into the league, asking what was going on there. From my point of view, I think from the multiple angles that they showed, I think that the refs got it right, unfortunately. What was your kind of takeaway from that?
Yeah, I see it both ways. I mean, St-Juste said that he would kind of play it the same way every time. He is a physical corner. There is some hand fighting involved. I mean, it's I understand it wasn't egregious, but you're right. It probably is called. More refs probably call it than they don't call it for that type of play.
I will say that in my personal opinion, if that was an incomplete pass, I don't think a flag is thrown. I think the fact that it was an interception, they threw the flag because that thing came out as soon as he caught it. But now, to wrap this up,
it being Justin Jefferson. Probably.
Yeah, well, obviously that has a lot to do with it. My next question for you, Chase Young. One of my favorite things from yesterday was Taylor Heineke spinning away from Eric Kendricks, and obviously the whole stadium was blown away with that quick move that he did on Eric Kendricks. And then Chase Young is on the sideline pointing at Kendricks the entire time after the play, telling him, "He got you, we got you."
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about Chase Young. Do you think he's coming back this week? What do you think the feeling is with Rivera and company in regards to Chase Young's return?
Well, it's all about whether he's in football shape or not. I think he is past that hurdle of, is his knee okay? I think it's just really kind of trying to get to that next level. And in theory, this game being on a Monday night, I think works in Chase Young's advantage. But, it's just a matter of whether or not he's ready. But I will say, I mean, Young has been itching to get back out there. He's a guy that, has a flavor for the dramatics, and Monday night in prime time, that's a big stage. Chase Young embraces those, so I necessarily wouldn't be surprised to see him out there, but at the same time, I kind of need to see how practice goes this week.
You guys hear that? Matthew Paris says 110% Chase Young is playing this Monday night. So
what about Jahan Dotson? I know Scott Turner made a comment last week saying it'd be a lot sooner than people thought. When do you think we'll see the return of Jahan?
I mean, shit, I don't know. This is the thing that, this is what's hard about this is, they don't give you any injury information. And when they do give a timeline, it was 2 to 4 weeks originally, right? Down a couple weeks. Well, it's been 5. I mean, he was working out before the game. He looked pretty fast on those speed ladders. It seemed like the agility was a bit there, but I would maybe expect him to practice, but I don't know. It just kind of depends on. I thought something interesting that Ron Rivera said was that for guy, I guess this is Dotson's first soft tissue injury. And so when the first time that happens, guys are a little bit slower to come back from it just because they don't know how their body will respond and those sorts of things. So. I thought it was kind of an interest. I don't know if it's true, but that's
makes
the company line that they're.
Yeah,
I guess in theory it makes sense, but I don't know.
Especially as a receiver, hamstring type leg injuries like that, I could see how that would be frustrating.
And now, Paris, to wrap this up, I only have a couple more questions for you, but for this week, this Monday, Washington wasn't the only one blowing up the headlines on social media around the world. The Colts made a change at head coach. And so they took Frank Reich and they brought in Jeff Saturday. What are you hearing about that situation? Isn't that insane, the fact they wouldn't even go to Reggie Wayne, who's the wide receivers coach, who's on the staff, or Gus Bradley? What is going on?
Gus Bradley, John Fox. I mean, they had,
They do have John Fox, don't they? What are they doing?
They have former head coaches on the staff. It's crazy. I mean, the thing I joked about with Grant Paulson was, it reminds me of remember when the Browns were rumored to be interested in Condoleezza Rice? At least Jeff Saturday has actual experience.
Dude, I completely forgot about that. That really happened. That wasn't a fevered nightmare. That was real.
They actually went and did the thing. Now Jeff Saturday is a thing. I just think it's I mean, God, I hope Chris Ballard he'll probably get another job. He has a good reputation, but I'd be really nervous if I were him. There's no way that was Ballard's idea.
I feel like I just saw Jeff Saturday on ESPN Get Up last week.
Literally
That's why I was like blown away. I was like, wait, what?
Did you see his tweet? He tweeted on October 30th.
Yeah, about the Raiders.
Yeah.
He said the Raiders are terrible, and that's who they're facing this week. And that's the crazy thing is because for us fans, we think a lot of it like Madden, right? Like a coach just comes in there and does it. But they don't understand. Like you have to run the meetings, and like this is midway through the season. They haven't been in the building, so they have to coordinate it with the players, right?
I was talking with some people, and I was kind of joking, like, what do you think of the equivalent of that would be here? Like, would that be B-Mitch taking over?
Yeah. It's
Logan. It's Logan
Someone
Paulson.
pointed out to me that it would be Robert Griffin. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Oh, my God. That would be so funny. That would be so funny.
I would say it would be Logan because they say Jeff Saturday's really, really smart and everything like that. But
Jeff Saturday's made Pro Bowls. Sorry, Logan.
Right, yeah,
Oh,
sure.
I love him. He's my best friend. I can say that.
That's rude. That's absolutely rude. Now,
all-world commentator.
To wrap this up, Paris, only one more question I have for you. The atmosphere at FedEx yesterday was blacked out. It was salute to service. I think one of the coolest things from yesterday was the row of kids who were doing the oath of enlistment into the military on the field. The entire stadium was standing up, clapping for that. It was awesome. What was the atmosphere like in that second half? I mean, it was absolutely electric when they had the lead. What was your pulse from the fan base?
Yeah, it was really, I was really curious. Like, you did see the visuals I was curious of like what their reaction would be to Snyder. There were some sell the team T-shirts, a smaller chants that you couldn't really hear in the press box. Someone sent me a video of the chant kind of going around the stadium, but you heard the Heineke chants. That really took over, and it's just, that they were really juiced for that game. And I think part of that is the excitement over a potential sale. I think it gets fans more invested, weirdly enough, and there were a lot of Vikings fans at that game, but the Commanders faithful, made their voices heard.
And then based off of the Irsay making the change with Jeff Saturday, I was going to ask about possibility with Scott Turner. Do you see any changes with the coaching staff whatsoever?
No, I'd be really surprised at this point.
I just wanted to make sure. Thank you, Paris.
We're going to get Santana Moss to come in and run the offense. That'll be cool.
Don't make jokes. Paris, I can't thank you enough for joining us again, brother. Go and enjoy your Monday evening. Enjoy his Monday Night Football and kick your feet up, brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate
it, man.
Thank you, Paris. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man.
How crazy is it? Everybody wants to talk about Snyder, and I get it. Like, I'm on board. I understand. But Jim Irsay is a legit tyrant right now. This guy is just running amok. This guy is calling out owners. This guy is changing coaching staffs and then firing his quarterbacks after he says that his quarterbacks and coach are safe. He's replacing them the following week. He's bringing in a former player to run the team who, by the way, was sitting in a TV booth just 2 days ago, sitting there talking about the game, being an analyst.
Talking to Mike Greenberg yesterday, and now he's a coach.
Like, what the hell is going on with this guy? You know what? We know what's going on with him.
Feels good to be.
We got to give this guy a breathalyzer test every day before he comes into the office.
It feels good to be the smaller.
He woke up this morning in Indianapolis in that stadium. He woke up like Al Pacino at the end of Scarface.
100%.
Mound full on the table. Was like,
instead of Coke, it was crushed up Percocets or something.
Reich's got to go.
You know what? Give me that Jimi Hendrix guitar, brother, because he's got to go. And he starts playing some Freebird or something. That's not Jimi Hendrix, but you know what I'm saying.
You got to make like a tree. Get out of here.
Yeah.
All right. Now
you know what? I'm going to bring in Pat McAfee as a special teams coordinator, brother. You're like, all right, are you Hulk Hogan or are you Jim Irsay?
To wrap this up, let's answer some fan questions to recap this game. But Hall, I want to start this with you from Paul Murphy. It's a great question. While Milne had a great touchdown catch, do we need to look at other options for punt returners as our starting field position often severely impacts our ability to get the offense a chance?
Yes. I've been saying this for literally weeks.
I heard him say it for 3 hours yesterday.
Why? Yeah, literally every time he went back to catch a punt, I was like, why is he running out there? He ran out there again. Why is he running out there? Every single time. I'm going to keep asking people and myself, every single time that we go out to receive a punt, why is Dak Milne out there receiving the punts? They got AG on kickoff return. I don't know why they don't put him back there for punt return. For an offense that struggles to move the ball, you would think you would try to use every advantage possible to try to get better field position for your offense.
Especially
but
when AG had
what
that
do I
nice
know?
kick return.
I don't know
yesterday.
anything, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. AG literally just had a nice kick return during that game. Like you would think that they would want big plays. And also, color me surprised.
It was
that
funny.
the white guy circling running backwards is not as fast as the black guys coming forward. Like I don't know. It's a natural disadvantage. Get him out.
It was funny because even I was listening to B Mitch and someone asked B Mitch like what he feels about that, and he was like, "I wish there could be a camera on me and Santana Moss's face every single time they tried out for a punt return and Dax Milne goes back there." They said they just both roll their eyes and just look at each other like,
two
what is going
legit
on?
special team return men too that have done some serious damage, who know what they're doing.
It's the safety, it's the reliability of the catch, but it does come at its weaknesses. It does have the flip side of the argument, and that is not the ability of the explosion, which we have seen. But I agree with you. I do think we need to look at other options, but I think Milne does deserve credit because he does catch the ball. He hasn't had any turnovers this season. He's done a good job in that breath. Give him flowers for that because he went back there and he did his job. That's what he's asked to do. Don't ask him to go out there and be Deshaun Jackson at 150 pounds. You know what I mean? That's not what he's going to do. So
see, and that's the thing. I wouldn't have a problem with that because yes, like 90% of it is catching the ball. You want to catch the ball, secure it. But again, if we had a competent offense that can move the ball on a regular basis, I'm cool with that.
Right.
But with an offense that can't even muster up 20 points a game for the most part.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I know. It really just like irks me I'm like B Mitch. It irks me every time he goes back there. I'm just like, why?
It's because he's white.
It's because he's so Mormon, not just white.
I didn't want to say that.
Too. Yeah.
I'm kidding,
like his
man.
religion's old enough for our parents to be like that.
People still hate on Troy Apke. Not even on the team anymore.
Yeah, but that's a white corner. That's very rare.
Well, he's a white safety that was moved to corner. Dion supports my message. Okay?
By the way, there's a white cornerback coming out from Iowa this year. Riley Moss, I think is his name. He's a white cornerback who actually legit could get drafted, and like he's actually not bad.
I'm sure.
And his last name's Moss.
Yeah,
what?
That's a leg up. Let's go to our next question. This is actually a really good one, Reed. This one's from Football Guru. Are folks overreacting to this loss? I mean, if we go to 3-1 against the Texans, Falcons, and 2 times versus the Giants, even if we lose to the Eagles, we are going to be at least 7-6. Isn't that like the kind of place we want to be at?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I didn't expect us to win yesterday. I think the fact that we had a chance to legitimately win that game is huge. I think it's going to do a lot for our confidence because nobody wanted to talk about it, but the Vikings at 7-1, Vikings are the best 7-1 team in the NFL right now. Vikings offense is legit good. When Kirk Cousins is playing like he did yesterday, their defense has been very good. Yeah, they're up there. They're very good.
I was thinking the same thing. But how many 71 teams are there?
Oh no, I don't know. Are there any others? I'm just talking about
the only one.
I'm talking about the 8-0. I mean, Eagles and stuff.
You said they're the best 7-1 team out there. Like
I meant they're the best 7-1 team of all time ever in the history of teams. No, but they're good. I mean, they're good. How many teams can do what they can do on offense and can beat you in so many ways? And so that's got to be a big leg up. The thing is, it's still a loss, and that sucks, and it drops you below 500. And we're kind of sitting here like, because we do have a tough game against the Eagles coming up. However, like you said, we do have some winnable games after that. So I think, and that's right where we pictured us anyway. I mean, what we're saying 7-8, or I'm sorry, what the fuck, whatever the new thing is. We're going to finish around 7 to 9 wins is what we were saying before the season. So we can still do it. All right.
Reed is on a tear. I do think
it's because I'm on the Jim Irsay diet.
I do think people are overreacting. When I went on AWOD's show last week, he asked me how many points the offense had to score to win. He put it at 30, which kind of puts in this perspective on what people thought going into this game, going against the 6-1 Vikings, how people were reacting to me on Twitter. Oh, you've won games against really bad, subpar opponents. The Vikings are to come in, they're going to run all over you, don't have a chance. Okay, fine, that's cool. But when they go into this game and they make it a game, they battle throughout the entire thing, even getting a 10-point lead at one point. Now the conversation changes, oh, that was a winnable game, and you let it go. Everyone needs to be fired. Scott Turner needs to be fired. Taylor Heineke isn't the guy. Wait. I get it. They lost, and they deserve the criticism for losing. But call a spade a spade. They played a damn good game yesterday against a very quality opponent, one of the best in the NFL, and they made them earn it. They did not feel comfortable at any point in time yesterday, and this team earned that respect yesterday. I thought they played with heart, they played with confidence, and that was something I haven't seen before. Besides the fact that Taylor Heineke had his worst game of the season so far. I mean, that honestly, it was really weird to see him not hitting his checkdowns. It was weird to see him not being in rhythm. It just the whole offense today just seems flummoxed, so to speak. But I do think people are overreacting because, like, it's like every loss, it's like the sky is falling. It can't just be that Minnesota beat us on this play. We gave this up. It has to be complete overhaul. New owner, new GM, new coach, new OC, new quarterback. And
what I've been
like,
saying for years. Yeah, it's a bunch of chicken littles. Every time we lose, it doesn't matter how bad it was. It doesn't matter what team it is. It's the sky is falling, and we're all screwed. It's a bunch of chicken littles in the fan base, and it gets so obnoxious.
And that was essentially my point, is that the NFL is designed to be even. The NFL is designed for teams to all be on the same pedestal and for the games to be close. And so when they lose a game 2017 against a better opponent, you could say, to an extent, based on the record, that's when it's like the sky is falling. Well, like, no, dude, like, it's supposed to happen. I understand wanting success and wanting to win, but you have to understand, football at its core, it's a 50-50 game. Right. And it's going to happen. So if you expect if you're going to have this type of reaction after every loss, you might want to watch a new sport. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, that's like that person who responded to you and was like, well, how many teams when you're like, every team that this happens to, they're like, well, how many teams, whatever the response was, it was like literally every team is talking about firing their head coach at some point. Every team is struggling on offense and letting a team come back from 10 points down every week. It happens.
The Ravens did it to the Dolphins. They let up a huge lead to the Dolphins.
This happens to every team.
Yeah, and
the Packers have been 13-3 the past 3 seasons, and now they lose to the Detroit Lions on Sunday, and everyone's like, "Fire LaFleur, he's the worst coach in the league." It's like,
man,
we've been to like 3 straight NFC championships, so he's really the worst coach in the league.
We should have gotten rid of 12 before the season, man. You should have put a player on 12, man. That's baby.
That's exactly what he sounds like. Hall, I want to go to you. This question from the Colonel. Thank you, Colonel. I know today's a hard day. My heart's out with you. Prayers out for you with you, sir.
You good?
Stay strong. Yeah, he's good. He's fine.
Okay. Well,
this question from the Colonel. Frank Reich was fired by Indianapolis last night. Hall has commented in the past about Ron's inability at clock management and timeouts. Both issues were on full display in our sickening last-minute loss yesterday. How many more losses like yesterday will it be before he follows Frank out the door?
Well, it'll be however many more losses we get this year, and it'll be however many losses we take next year, because I know everyone's talking about the new owner and like now the report with Jay Glazer, who's pretty plugged in, so it's probably a real report, that they want to have the team sold by the owners' meetings in March, this upcoming March, or next March, I should say. So even if that's the case and they do find the new ownership group or the new owner, whatever, whoever it may be, you're still going to need a head coach. You're still going to need a GM. You're still going to need scouts. You're still going to need all these guys. So they're not going to get rid of anybody I mean, I guess you could say maybe like they could replace Scott Turner or something like that after the season. But as far as any major changes, like Ron Rivera, the head coach, the front office people, they're not going anywhere, because you need people to run the free agency period. You need people to run the combine stuff. You need people to run the draft. And all that stuff happens pretty much in the time period that the team would be up for sale, per se. So long story short, what I'm trying to say is Ron Rivera and this coaching staff, for the most part, but Ron Rivera himself is going to be here for the rest of this year and however long he lasts in 2023, whether it's throughout the season or in the season. But yeah, so he'll be here for a year and a half.
The Colonel, I'm not laughing at your question, but like, can we be perfectly honest about this? If Dan Snyder fired Ron during the season, like, who would run anything? Like, he just does everything.
If Dan Snyder was smart, he'd bring in a former player with no coaching experience at all to come in here and start.
No, but I don't think Ron's going anywhere, especially this season. But I understand your point, because the way that the interception made it to where you had to play perfect football from here on out. And what's unfortunate is the decisions for timeouts, the decisions for challenges come back to bite them to the point where it takes the game away, and that it contradicts playing the perfect football, because then it coming from the head coach, it's kind of taking that away. And I understand that, and I think Coach Rivera understands that, and obviously they have to do something differently in that breath. I do feel like a lot of times with these challenges that get blown up, he's listening to the players. You know, he wants that kind of momentum shift, and that's where a lot of his decisions derive from, is more wanting the momentum shift rather than seeing something that he actually wants to challenge, if that makes sense. I'm trying to put that the best way possible, but I appreciate the question, sir.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you guys, so I'll leave it at that. But what I can't understand is why would Jeff Saturday even accept that? Like, why would Jeff Saturday, like, you're set up, like, clearly your owner's off the wagon. Clearly this guy is on a lot of drugs and alcohol or something, and you're just feeding into his problem. And you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, no, I'll do this. I'll set up to fail. Sure, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to embarrass myself, and we're going to lose every game. But
he's a high school football head coach. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, that's true.
Can you imagine Frank Reich? He's like, I got vaccinated for nothing.
Yeah, Frank the Third Reich. Like,
I want to know how Chris Ballard survived this, because he has a part in this too. But
yeah,
maybe he's got dirt on Irsay like Snyder. Who knows?
Yeah,
it's a good question. Now let's move on to our fan question from the Discord chat server, baby, to wrap up this episode. This is from Andy Lockhart in the UK. Oi! Why is Scott Turner still in charge of play calling? The guy is atrocious, and he's so arrogant calling players, especially before yesterday's game, calling out RBs. He should be calling himself out. Oh, wait, he can't even call a taxi. Horrible.
Well, my question would be, who else on the staff under him can call the plays? Because
can't change the offense. I mean, the season, unfortunately.
I mean, I guess you can we nominated B Mitch.
Paulson.
Yeah, B Mitch, Logan Paulson.
I
guess
I could tell you that.
Santana, I guess maybe, but no. But seriously though, I mean, there's not really that young, smart, offensive-minded, kind of up-and-coming head coach or up-and-coming OC that a lot of people's staffs have that get talked about a lot. You don't really have that person on this coaching staff right now, so you can't really get any better than Scott Turner at this point in time, unfortunately. So it is what it is.
Yeah, Scott, I will say that the flea flicker on their side of the field on the 35 was an absolute horrible play call. I said it to Hall in the stadium. That's not where you do it, because the defense is using the end zone as their own defender. And when you do those trick plays, you want to extend the play as much as possible. You want space, and that worked against them yesterday. So I thought
also
that was
horrible personnel grouping too. Why do you have John Bates running that route and not someone like Cam Sims?
Right.
If you're gonna throw a 50-50 ball, at least
yeah, exactly.
It's super.
I don't want to overly go on Scott, because it's an incredibly hard job to be able to script these plays, get them rehearsed, and then have them be effective during the game day. But that being said, it doesn't seem like the chess match. Whereas, you would move a pawn in a certain place to get the king to come jump the pawn in order for you to attack the king to take him away. You don't see that kind of setting up happen by Scott Turner. It's almost like he's just making moves and it's all reaction and there's no manipulation to it, essentially, is my whole point. Curtis Samuel only getting one rush up the middle after he had a 16-yard carry. Why isn't that utilized more? Why aren't you using that as a play action? Because they're going to bite on Curtis Samuel knowing you're effective there. I have lots of questions, but I'm not going to say he's atrocious, deserved to be fired, but he needs to get his head out of his ass.
Yeah. My biggest question is, it's not even a question. It's just kind of ironic that, and look, I love Ron, as you know, but that Ron chose Scott Turner over Kevin O'Connell to call the offense. Meanwhile, Kevin O'Connell's leading the 7-1 Vikings at a head coaching position. And we're sitting here why are you here again, Scott? What are you doing here? No, but I agree with you. He shouldn't be fired. I don't think that there's anybody who could take his place at this point in the season, but he's got to get his head out of his ass and out of my ass, because I don't appreciate when people's heads are all up in my ass, because it's too small. So stop.
You're stupid, dude. Tim asked me to look over the videos from today, the all 22, and I was able to do that. But this question's from Digital Guru in Discord. I'm gonna go to you, Reed. Do you think Ron Rivera will make the quarterback coach the play caller if this type of bad play calling continues? Does he have the nerve to make a change?
I don't know. One thing that you kind of notice with Ron is he's very loyal, and him bringing Scott Turner all the way from Carolina and hiring him his first year here after making him after Scott Turner became the offensive coordinator in Carolina in an interim position too, might I add. I don't know if he will fire him during the season. I think that Scott Turner's shown potential. Scott Turner, the players I do think like Scott Turner, and I think that he can be a good play calling. There's been times during the season where Scott Turner's looked like a genius. I mean, the week 1 against the Jaguars, we were all like, Scott Turner did a pretty damn good job for having Carson out there. We finally saw what he could do, but I don't think he'll make the call. But could Sam Peace? That's our quarterback's coach right now, right?
Yes.
I think he could. I think he deserves it eventually. He should be. I mean, he's done a hell of a job with quarterbacks throughout his career, but I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't think Ron will do it. I don't think he is.
Ron wants some piece of that. Now, this next question from Scott Hartley in the UK. Oh, it's a great question. We'll go to you, Hall. What's the one thing that gives us a better chance of winning for the rest of the season? Quarterback play, play calling, squad health, depth, or something else?
I will say I'll take the something else, and I'll say the offensive line play getting better, which, I mean, I don't know how much better it could get at this point because we're already halfway through the season. But hope maybe at some point they gel together and play a little bit better. But because you see when Carson Wentz does have protection, you see what he can do with the football and get it to the playmakers and whatnot. But, yeah, I would say offensive line play would be one thing for success, but I would definitely say probably quarterback play just because I guess it all ties in with offensive line play. But yeah, I would just say offensive line play and quarterback play would be the two things that could turn the season around and get them in the win columns.
What's the one thing that gives us the better chance of winning for the rest of the season? I think it's squad health, to be perfectly honest. The way that Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, James Smith-Williams, F.A. Obata, how these guys are coming out and just balling, John Ridgeway, I think the health of them is very crucial because that's been helping us so far this season. So squad health, without a doubt. We saw what happened to the offensive line without Tyler Larson in there. When Trey Turner was dinged up, we saw with Sam Cosmi. So I think squad health is number one. Obviously, Jahan Dotson being out. Obviously, that red zone weapon being out. Now things are kind of weird, right? So without a doubt for me, it's squad health. I know the play calling can be better, but I don't think – because what could happen is, the play call could get better, but then the D-line gets injured, and now we're giving up 100 rushing yards a game, and we're giving up 30 points a game. Play calling doesn't matter at that point. So for me, it's squad health.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. And kind of to piggyback off that, I mean, we saw last year, Washington was on a nice little winning streak. Washington was getting hot last year, and all of a sudden they got hit by the COVID situation and then injuries to key players, and it was just like the wheels fell off at that point. So I think the healthier teams are usually the teams that you see advancing further in the offseason or in the postseason. So I really think that squad health that's a lot to do with it, man. You want to stay relatively healthy. Those are usually the teams that you see in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. You're right. It is. And I was talking to the guys yesterday about
I know.
I was talking to the guys yesterday about Philly because Philly had remained healthy up until last week, and they lost Jordan Davis. So, I know that they're saying that Philly's going to go undefeatable. I was like, I understand that. Hopefully, if they stay healthy, because they've been lucky up until this point. They're the healthiest team in the NFL. Yeah. Their injury report was 1 compared to ours, which was 15. Right. You know what I mean? So, they've gotten lucky at that point. But
they're not going to go undefeated, though, because they're going to lose on Monday night.
Yep. It's true.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that, Philly? We're coming for you. And I want to feel your blood. I want to feel it dripping down your legs like pee. You should be scared. Be very scared.
That's never happened before. I don't know what that was. I don't want to revisit it. That was creepy.
That was a serial killer.
And I'm kind of turned on at the same time.
Right? Right? That you're welcome for that.
All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. Thank you to everybody in the Discord chat, sir. Thank you, Tim Towner, Tony Shivers. Thank you, Scott Hartley, Andy Lockhart, everybody out there. I really do appreciate you. Proud Papa on Twitter. He really wrote. He asked me last week. He was like, "When you said that Reed got double teamed on the weekends, does that mean what I think it means?"
No. It means I was banged by two guys. That's what double teamed means.
You're so stupid. All right, everybody, that's gonna wrap us up for this episode. Please comment on the episode on YouTube. We want to hear from you guys. What's your reaction? Who's getting the chores for you for the week? Are you giving out any game beers or somebody you think deserves it we didn't give a shout out to? Please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you guys. And of course, if you could just rate and subscribe, obviously on iTunes podcast, on all the Google podcast platforms, and then YouTube as well. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say about and rate us.
Instead of game beers and cheers, you should also do who deserves to get double teamed this weekend, and by your choice, we'll pick whether we think that that's a good thing or a bad thing. If you pick Benjamin St-Juste, we'll be like, all right, this guy totally thinks that it's a good thing. But if you pick like Cornelius Lucas, we'll be like, obviously that's a death sentence for this guy. That's this guy's biggest fear. So use that terminology, please. Thank you.
Why is that his biggest fear? I feel like we're going down
because that's
a
bad thing. No, for some people, not for me.
Man.
Love that for us. But.
Every time Every time you take a deep breath, your butt whistles. All right, everybody. This is going to wrap us up for this episode. We'll see you guys again on
Like
Thursday.
a desert night.
The title of Thursday's episode is going to be Double Teamed. All right, everybody. We will see you then. I'm Kyle.
Tumbleweeds
A lot
going by.
of butt stuff talk going
Tumbleweeds.
on. I'm Hall.
I don't know who I am right now. I'm confused at this point.
All right, everybody. We'll see you then. Washington football. Woo!
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!